Hello, back on track with Something's Going On today. Good progress being made on the song. I feel like it's really coming together. Been working on a guitar solo the past few days. I've just recorded that this morning. I'm quite happy with it, so I'll play that for you. And more tailoring work being done on the drums as well. I'm starting to come to the conclusion that getting your drums more sorted than not, earlier than not, is more important than I've previously given credit for. I can't just throw a rhythm in and say I'll sort it out later. It's an intrinsic part of the song and should be treated as such. So I'm trying very hard to get them right. I think they sound much better than the previous version. Other than that, there's no substantial change otherwise. A little bit of tinkering with the vocal melody line. It's still a piano part, just as again a placeholder for the what will be the vocals. But I think it's really important to actually get the notes right before I settle on the lyrics. The lyrics are still very much in a state of flux. So we'll talk a little bit about that after we've heard it. Stop the song there because we've heard all the stuff at the end. There's no significant change. So let's talk about the guitar solo. I'm very fond of this guitar solo. A few weeks ago, I did a video series where I broke down my system setup and talked about all of my various bits of equipment and how my setup works, particularly with a view to recording it for YouTube. But in one of the episodes, I talked about all of my guitar pedals and the various bits of equipment I've got, and I've got a hatful of Boss stomp boxes, which I put away. They've been sat on a shelf unused because I tried to go completely in the box, totally digital, clean, perfect, fresh as you like. But the fact is that nothing sounds as good as those old 80s Japanese stomp boxes. I've got a PH1R phaser, a CS2 compressor, and there's a couple of yellow stomp boxes. There's a Super Overdrive SD1, and that's the one that's actually in use on this song. Those three pedals that I've just mentioned, CS2 into the SD1 into the PH1R, make that sound, and nothing else. It goes into a vanilla GT100, which is acting as a preamp, just a completely vanilla preamp, and then into empty tracks. No processing on these whatsoever, and they are just to die for. These stomp boxes are better than any VST I've ever heard. So this is stereo recording panned pretty hard left and right. And you can see that I actually recorded it on loop. So yeah, that's just, those are one take out of, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 I did. Pick the best 2, panned them hard left and right, and that makes a hell of a difference. If you listen to that as a mono track, if I just put one of them central, it's so noisy. Sounds fine, you know, on its own it sounds fine. As recorded, you might think it's good enough. It's just better. Ordinarily, when I'm writing solos, I use this process called sketchbooking, where I play almost randomly. I just play in the scale of the song, whatever comes to mind, almost kind of free association, just whatever stream of consciousness kind of stuff. And it's very rare that more than a bar sticks together with any kind of cohesive nature. But then I'll go back and find little moments where my fingers did things that my brain wasn't aware of. And I stick these things together and construct a solo out of components that were never there in the first place, were not intended to be there. That wasn't the case with this one. This was basically just laying back and wailing away on the Boss phaser. It's just absolutely inspirational. I love playing it. And so I think this is probably the way that I'll try to do my solos, for at least for the time being. Now that I've gone to the effort of getting the pedal board plugged back up again, and it's all, you know, I'm just using one pedal board because I own 2 BCB 60s, and I've just got one over here with 6 pedals in. Only 3 of them are actually used on this song, but I was just kind of messing around with different pedals, looking for the combination of sounds that I wanted. And once I found it, that was it. So it's set up for one song. You know, I turn it on, it's there. I'm not messing with any of the knobs. You know, it's absolutely that it's sacrosanct. Do not touch the knobs on the pedals while I'm learning this stuff. Because once I've found a sound, I can get myself in this situation where I'll change the sound of pedals, and it doesn't sound as good anymore. And then I got obsessed with trying to find the sound that I used to have and can't find it and get frustrated, and the whole thing spirals out of control. It's basically just a lack of confidence to say that's a good sound, use it. So once I've got something that you know that sounds pretty good, just basically leave it alone and then pick it up every 2 or 3 times a day. You know, have a play for 10 minutes. If something inspiring happens, awesome. If it doesn't, put it down. Don't push it. And over the course of a week or so, you know, I just cobbled this solo together out of basically just extended jams, and it felt really organic and not usually the way I work, and I really enjoyed it. So that was great stuff. Let's have a look at the rhythm. Now then, I could come in for some abuse with this rhythm, because I've done a thing that I'm pretty sure I shouldn't be doing. I've added tone to my kick drum. So here it is. There's my kick. And you can see that I've actually added, grabbed a note out of Media Bay, I think. And it's a pretty fundamental part of the sound. And when the song changes key, so for instance down here, when we move to the F kick, basically copied the pad and I think, yeah, detuned. There you go, detuned each of the notes so that there's a bass sound actually embedded in the kick drum itself. It's quite sharp, but it gives a real heft to the kick drum that I didn't want from any other source. That's what I wanted. Now, I think this is going to cause a problem when I come to mixing, because I've got that bass, I've got the obviously actual bass doing its thing, being very bassy, and the Moog modular as well is, there's a big fat bloff in there as well. So I would imagine all of those three things competing for exactly the same frequency real estate is going to cause me an absolute nightmare, but that's a problem for the future. I'll worry about it then. The sound itself, the drum sound, I think is evolving really nicely. I've stripped a load of stuff out. It was basically 3 rhythms thrown together that just sounded good, and I left them. But it was a little bit chaotic and a bit too much, so I've started stripping some of it back and simplifying the rhythm a lot. And now I've got, it's quite strong. So it's got a kind of really driving insistence, and there's a lot of consistency and stability to it. You can see I've taken a lot of the percussion out because that was just too much fluff. Comes in briefly, does its thing, and then gets out of the way again. So that sounds quite strong. I really like the rhythm, and I find if you can listen to a rhythm in solo and kind of groove off on it and think, yeah, that I'm really enjoying listening to that, then when you put all of the music around it, I think that's got to be a good thing. The vocal line, let's just right at the very end, I changed a little bit of the melody. It seems like a little thing, hardly worth mentioning, but I think you've got to get this stuff right. I'm going to spend hours putting vocals over the top of this. I've got to make sure that the words are actually, the notes are right for the lyrics to sit in place, because the melody itself actually governs or guides the words that I write for the lyrics. So they've got to be right. But other than that, I've really not paid very much attention to the vocals. I've just been obsessed with this guitar solo. Speaking of which, one final thing to mention about it was that when I recorded it in, I was having a look at it in Vari Audio, which I always do as a matter of course, just to see, whether everything looks well behaved, particularly if I'm doing pitch bends. And there were pitch bends that were right in between G and G flat, and I dragged them down to G flat because that's the note in C Locrian, and suddenly it was wrong. It was the wrong note. So I thought, well, what the hell have I done here? When I dragged them up to G, that was the note my brain was hearing. That's the note my fingers were trying to play. But of course, my eyes were telling me that I was supposed to be bending to a G flat because that's the note in C Locrian. I thought I was playing a solo in C Locrian. I wasn't. It turns out that when I'm playing those pitch bends, I was bending up to G and I was modulating into C Phrygian. I had no idea that that's what I was doing. That's just what my ears did. And so I love that stuff. That is your Bob Ross happy accident all over the place. That I think that's the stuff that when I find it, I might stumble across it by accident, and I'm taking no kind of intellectual credit for deciding to modulate the scales during the solo, but it's having the awareness to say that's a good thing. I'm gonna push that, and so now I'm gonna try to find other music, other sounds going on in the solo that accentuate that G, that accentuate the Phrygianness of the scale and that modulation from Locrian up into Phrygian. There's got to be interesting design space there. I think that's the good stuff. I'm really excited about that. Whenever those kinds of things happen, it's always just a joy. It's like, oh, brilliant! Don't I look clever now? And it's, a total accident. I just bent the note too far. Well, I actually didn't bend the note enough because my brain knew it was supposed to be a G, just that my actual consciousness didn't. I had no idea that that's what was going on. So cool stuff. That's where we are with Something Going On. I'm really happy with the progress. I think the song's coming along really nicely. It's definitely now time to start thinking about the vocals. I'll try to get the lyrics a little bit more stable and get Pauline to sing at least a demo line so that we can bed them in and see what they feel like in the song. And if you subscribe and hit notifications, you'll make sure not to miss that when it comes out. Hope to see you then. Thanks very much for watching.